Alright, so Hera has made a list of the 5 worst unique units in Age of Empires 2. Let's have a look and see if we agree.
Yo, what's up, guys? We're going to be talking about the worst unique units in Age of Empires 2. Now, I don't know what's going on, but I just can't stop myself from making the worst or the most useless unit list. I think they're just the most fun lists to make because they always get the strongest reactions from the comments.
They get the most views.
Was like, how dare you say this unit is useless? I just won a campaign using this unit the other day, bro. This unit is so sick. I was gonna say top 5 most useless unique units, but honestly, that was a little too harsh, so I had to tone it down a little. So anyways, let's hop into the list. Actually, before we hop into the list...
Just kidding, by the way. Everyone makes videos like this because they are fun. The reactions are fun, but also it's nice to get a lot of views. Everyone does this, myself included. Number 5.
Starting off at number 5 here, we're going to be talking about the Jaguar Warriors. Jaguar Warriors aren't that bad, but I honestly feel like they're just not that great either. They got buffed recently, getting an extra Pierce armor, so they're actually pretty tanky right now. But what infantry unit doesn't die to Aztec champions? You know what I mean? I feel like Jaguar Warriors only come in certain unique cases when you're up against
Urumi Swordmen. They don't die. Yeah, champions are better, but that's a generic or a general issue amongst unique units in general. It's the whole thing that you need castles to actually produce them. That's why in this case, for example, champion are just more likely than not going to be a better decision than Jaguar Warriors.
Against maybe like Goth, when you're up against some heavy infantry spam. But in most cases, even if you're up against like regular infantry...
Wait, how long was that before a new ad played? Wait, how long was that? 1 hour 22? 1 hour, 1 minute 22 and there's a new ad?
For attack from Garland Wars is more than fine. They also get Gambesons as well, so you're gonna be completely fine just rocking the Aztec champions. And for that reason, I just feel like Jaguar Warriors never really see any play, and they're also just not that well-rounded of a unit, not that strong overall, so they're kind of forgettable. Number 5, they're not the worst, but they're pretty bad.
I can't disagree so far.
Moving on to number 4, it pains me to put it here, guys. Teutonic Knights, they're simply too easy to play against because of how slow they are. They have received a number of buffs, but the buffs are like so random. The Teutonic Knights have like a ton of melee armor, and then they buffed them and gave them more melee armor.
That wasn't the Teutonic Knights specifically, that was a Civ bonus though, right? So I don't think that bonus was particularly directed towards the Teutonic Knight, but recently they got like a gold discount, which was a good buff. But yeah, they're still not that great.
They're sometimes pretty good actually when you're up against pikemen. You've been on knights all game, then you switch, bam, Teutonic Knights all of a sudden. It could
look at the pathing.
So in some matchups they could be good, but in general they're pretty expensive and they're quite slow and they're just hard to make work as a main unit. But yeah, it is a fan favorite, guys. I love this unit too. It's so much fun to play. Just it being bad is not going to stop me from playing it. By the way, I still enjoy a good Teutonic Knights game, so I try to squeeze them in when I can, but there's no denying it. They are probably earning that number 4 slot.
Oh, this one right now is going to be controversial. Anyway, Teutonic Knights, yeah, pretty bad. I agree with what he's saying. You never see them in 1v1. Maybe you'll see them in like a team game, Black Forest 4v4, Michi, like a super late game scenario where you have unlimited gold and like 15 castles. It's like, it's not a great unit otherwise, more often than not. This one.
All right, moving on to number 3. Now, this unit is not like the Teutonic Knights. I actually hate this unit, number 3. I've tried to make it work and
He hates Dravidians as a whole, so not just his unit.
Lost games like just because I tried to go for this. If I went for anything else, I would have won, and it's just so infuriating. And that is the Urumi Swordsmen. Now, on paper, Urumi Swordsmen actually sound pretty good. They get that charge attack. If you get wood steel, they can ignore armor, but the unit just sucks in practice. And I think they're...
You're putting it like, this is like, the example we're looking at here is like 8 Urumi Swordsmen against like 9 Hussar with 10 Arbalest support. Come on, when you put them on display, give them a fair fight.
Chicken legs, absolute chicken legs. They die to anything with range. They're not that strong in melee combat for some reason. They should be, but when I use them, they're just not working out so well. They're just dying to like cavalry and stuff. Even like Hussar, they're just losing to you, which is so weird.
I'm going to show you something. So we are Dravidians. He is any generic Hussar Civ. Berbers. Exhibit A. Even Hussar, they just died to.
Just dying to like cavalry and stuff. Even like Hussar, they're just losing to you.
By the way, I created this scenario because someone told me in chat that Hera said this. And then I was like, no. No, no, no. So we ended up with 35 Urumi Swordsmen alive. This was 40 against 40.
So weird. I could be wrong on Urumi Swordsman. Let me know about the comments, guys. This is the one where I could be wrong about this. It could just be personal results that have just not been going well for me. But I just personally think this unit's terrible right now. Maybe a small buff to the Pierce Armor could help out a little bit. But I see no reason to go for Urumi Swordsman when you can go for some of the other options that Dravidians have. Definitely would take champions over Urumi 10 out of 10 times, regardless of the situation. So anyway, let me know if I'm wrong about this, guys, in the comments below. This is where, bring out those comments. Did you guys win any campaigns with this unit? Let me know about those. But in all seriousness, I actually do want to know about this one in particular. But anyways, moving on to number 2.
So yeah, that's the one I have a very strong opinion on. I think Urumi Swordsmen are amazing. What is holding them back is that you need castles to produce them, which again is the problem for a lot of unique units. If you have 15 of them, they're gonna seem bad. If you have 20, they're gonna probably seem bad. If you have 40 against 40 of anything, like if he has 40 Arbalists, you have 40 Urumi Swordsmen, you are faster, so you're gonna get on top of him at some point. And you are gonna melt his Arbalest. You obviously will lose 10, 15, 20 Urumi Swordsmen in the process, but I've been saying that low-key they are most underrated unique units in the game. Like, they're also only 20 gold. They're 65 food, 20 gold. I think Urumi Swordsmen are an absolute incredible unit. It's just that with Dravidians, I am a Dravidians lover, but I think the biggest issue with Dravidians is getting there, you know? But once you have like 40 of them, they are super good. Although I do agree, they are very fragile. They do die easily to range fire. There's no hiding that. So if there's a meat shield in front of, for example, like I said, Arbalest, and they have Cavalier in front, yes, they'll probably die quite easily. But the thing is, you have to pick engagements with Urumi Swordsmen. I would say similar to like maybe Woad Raiders, where it's like they die to range fire, but once you get on top of their ranged units, you dominate them. So yeah.
All right, at number 2, we've got, this is also another kind of fan favorite. I don't know if you guys are liking the War Elephant these days, but the War Elephant is going to be at number 2. Well, first of all, there's no denying it's a strong unit. Like, forget about chicken legs. War Elephant has not skipped leg day in years. Like, this guy is absolutely buff. He's massive. He's huge. It's a unit. It's walking you down. It's very scary. It's very strong. But the problem is, it just has too many hard counters. Halberdiers usually does fantastic against it. Monks are great against War Elephants because, of course, Persians do not get heresy. And so War Elephants in general just end up falling a little flat sometimes for me personally. It could be good in team games, I suppose, or like those really boomy maps, but overall as a unit, it's probably one of the worst unique units in the game right now. I think it could use a small buff. Like if you just give it a little bit extra speed, that could go a long way. I think that would be a nice little buff for the Persian War Elephant. And it could just be that Persians are also not the best civ overall in most cases, and that's why War Elephant is kind of like hard to see a lot of play as well. Who knows? But anyways, War Elephant for me is that number 2.
I have to say, I agree with pretty much everything you said there. The biggest issue with elephants altogether is that they're slow and they get converted. When you get converted, it's not only that you lose the unit switches sides and goes to the enemy, right? And if the enemy controls your elephant all of a sudden, that's where it's just becoming a real big pain. Keep in mind, elephants are like, they're so expensive as well on food and gold. The issue as well I see with elephants is that if you try to make them faster or give them a buff some way, how are they going to be stopped, you know? Yeah, exactly. It can be so OP, so fast. It's a really tricky unit to balance because of how potentially strong it can be if it gets some buffs. I would just give Persians Heresy, and I think you would see more elephants. Honorable mentions.
Talk about number 1, which is probably pretty obvious to those who watch my videos, and this is a little wild, but I'm gonna put this Sergeant as an honorable mention. I think that was like number 6 on my list. I almost even put it on the list, and I actually am pretty sad about that. The Sergeant should be good. Like everything about the Sergeant makes it feel like a pretty good unit.
Yeah, like stat-wise, I think Sergeants really shine against trash units. They obviously have counterparts otherwise, but like once there's only like skirmishers, halbs, and such on the field, Sergeants are amazing. Really underrated thing with Sergeants is that you can build dungeons with them. I've started doing that lately when I play Sicilians, and just getting Elite Sergeants, getting the First Crusade, and then like spamming dungeon everywhere is insane.
Elite Sergeant also has like what, 85 HP and 11 attack. So overall, it's a very strong unit. It does well against most things on paper. But for some reason, I can never get it to work in practice. In practice, it just never, not only me, like I never see it doing anything. I watch games daily, I play games daily. I never see Sergeants actually being a big threat or a massive push or something that is worth going for. And to make matters worse for the Sicilians, First Crusade has gotten nerfed like 5 times in a row. So now First Crusade is like only getting 25 units. And I don't know, every time I go for Sergeants, sergeants, I always just wish I went for halberdier instead, or some other units. Completely irrelevant to infantry as well. Anything else usually ends up doing better than sergeants. I'm also not buying the whole gimmick of them building donjons.
What?
Maybe we need to make it that sergeants garrisoned in donjons, because right now, let's say I send 10 sergeants to tower rush, to donjon rush. If I garrison, my donjon shoots only the 2 arrows. It does nothing. It's so weak. So maybe that's a change that can make them a bit more viable in the early game, because I actually really like the synergy of them building towers, them running around, they raid and they fortify. Like, that's pretty sick, but
I agree.
It just doesn't end up doing well. Either give sergeants the ability to shoot arrows in dungeons, or give them the ability to repair siege, or just...
I have to say, I think sergeants are in a pretty good spot. I think they really shine in messy games where you like have 5 sergeants here, there, and then suddenly there's a dungeon there, dungeon here. I think that's how they have to be utilized. I don't think they're great in like these big macro games where you fight in just one spot. So yeah.
Just make them a villager as well. Like, honestly, at this point, anything can help. But yeah, I was serious up until the last point, obviously, but something about the sergeant just doesn't click for me, and that's why I put it to honorable mention.
I think they're fine.
So it's the kind of situation where the stats don't translate into the results. All right, moving on to number 1, the...
Okay, number 1. I've been trying to think a little bit about what unit I think may be the worst, and I can't really come up with a good answer right now. Maybe it's the Hussite wagon. I feel like it should be the Hussite wagon right now. Let's see.
Absolute worst unique unit, and the only unique unit that's absolutely useless on this list or in the game. Terrible.
It has to be Hussite wagon.
Obnoxiously bad unit. It just doesn't even function. It needs an absolute...
Yo, Hera, relax. Dude, he's going really in on this one.
Revamp or rework, or just flat out just don't have it there. The Civ might be better off. It's the Hussite
makes
wagon.
sense.
I hate this unit of the passion, guys. I truly believe it doesn't function properly. I don't know what it is, but the whole idea of the unit blocking projectiles or something, someone needs to sit me down and explain that to me, because I don't even...
Wait, isn't this gonna be wrong, this example? Well, this looks way better for the picture. Isn't it only gonna give them bonus behind them? I have to say, I agree, they're shit. In the most recent patch, frame delay has been reduced. So apparently they're going to be a little bit easier to micro. Yep. It's an AoE effect that you get it not only behind. Okay, cool.
Someone needs to sit me down and explain that to me, because I don't even know how that works up until this point, and I never see anyone using it like that as a support unit. It's just not a mechanic that works well with AoE 2 micro, or it just flows well with the kind of fights we're taking. And aside from that, the unit has like multiple projectiles. It's super awkward to micro. I think it has good stats and it has a fair price, so it has potential. But as it is right now, it's absolutely like dog water. Like, it's really just obnoxiously bad, as I said earlier. I just don't even see what's the purpose of this unit. Again, I'm not buying that whole support unit thing. I'm half convinced it doesn't even work, but someone needs to explain it to me, like I said earlier. All right, guys, thanks for watching the video. I had a little bit more of a fun tone today.
Good stuff. It was a good video. I agree with all the 4 picks except obviously the Dravidians. The Urumi Swordsman is better, but obviously I am a guy that thinks Dravidians are still pretty good. Hera doesn't think Dravidians are good, so maybe our bias comes a bit into play there. I'm going to leave the link to the video if you want to check it out and make some comments on it. Enjoyed it.